Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Count Your Blessings. My name is Anita, and I am your host for today. We've been talking to Dr. Quincy Attipoe, and if you didn't listen to the last episodes, please do well to watch, like, and subscribe. To continue from where we left off, the mega mind behind Amazing Grace Family Dentistry, Dr. Quincy Attipoe, we learned of his upbringing, the struggles, the challenges, all the way to him getting a visa to come to America, where it all began. So in this episode, we are picking up how he schooled later in life to become this great dentist, opening, of course, several locations. And today we are seated here in one of the locations, Amazing Grace Family Dentistry. Dr. Q, once again, you are welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
We
Thank
are
you so
excited from the last episodes. The stories were amazing. We cannot wait to get to hear all about it. And so today we want to pick up where we left off from last time. You have landed greatly in New York City, and from there, life took off. So we want to hear from you today. Like I said, once again, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was some story the last time.
I'm
right?
telling you.
Yeah.
I still have Tina Turner in my head.
My God, my God, my God. Anyway, thank you so much for this opportunity once again.
Welcome.
So I arrived in New York City, JFK to be precise, and it looks like everything that should go wrong started happening just the way wrong things happen. Got off the flight, Ghana Airways flight, with my 2 suitcases. I made it to the front of the airport, and I just stood there.
With nobody to pick you up?
Nobody.
Oh, wow.
For a moment, I thought somebody was going to pick me up because I spoke to a gentleman before I left Accra, and he said, "Oh, he's a cab driver, and he's a childhood friend, and he said he was going to pick me." So I got there and I waited and waited. The minutes became hours, and the hours were just ticking. So I must have been standing there for about 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken, and nothing was happening. Not knowing there was a gentleman who was also at the same spot, and he was watching me.
Really?
Yes. So last time we talked about divine helpers and connectors. This gentleman walked to me and said, "Do you know where you are going?" And I said, "No."
Oh, wow.
"Are you expecting somebody?" I said, "I thought I was, but at
Not
this time,
anymore?
no, not anymore." Then he's like, "Okay, but do you have any address or somewhere? Do you know anybody in New York City where, we can call?" So I brought out my diary and I gave him an address of a lady friend. And he said, "I'll be right back." So he went to the phone booth. No cell phones at the time.
I was going to say no cell
Yeah,
phone.
we didn't have cell phones. So he went to a phone booth and came and said, "Oh, she said we should come."
Oh, nice.
And I was like, "Oh, wow, great." So he flagged a taxi cab, and with my 2 suitcases, we got into it. And we drove to the Bronx. And the ride to the Bronx was the most expensive cab ride I've ever taken. Well, that was my first experience anyway.
Right.
But I felt like it was expensive.
Okay.
Because I noticed when we got, first things, culture shock. I didn't see anybody walking on the street after we left the airport. And I'm like, do we have people living in this city?
Were you afraid at all?
I was scared at the
Okay.
point, because, we see houses
Right.
on both sides of but there was nobody. Eventually we made it to the Bronx, and I noticed the driver was just going around, and I saw this building maybe about 3 or 4 times. So I said, "Wait a minute, you passed this building, this is about 3rd or 4th time."
Your
There's-
meter was still running.
Oh, yes. Then it was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm trying to get the location." Apparently the meter was ticking, so the longer we stay in the cab,
Of course.
the more we're going to be paying. But anyway, we made it eventually, and it cost us a fortune. And we made it to my friend's apartment, and But she said something. She said, "Oh, Quincy, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "What I mean? I thought you said we should come." But I understood why that question. Eventually, she made me aware that her boyfriend will be coming,
Huh?
so that we can't stay there. And I'm like, "Oh my God." Then my angel, who was with me, or my divine helper, said, "Do you know of anybody else that we can call?"
So this gentleman did not abandon you?
No, he
Like
went with
just
me.
dropped you off and kept moving?
He went with me.
Wow.
That's how I knew God prepared him to be on that Ghana Airways flight in the first
Yes,
place,
you.
and also to be outside just watching me in my confusion or in my confused state. So I brought him my diary again. I gave him another number, and this gentleman lives in Lubbock, Texas. And luckily, the lady, they have a landline, so he borrowed the landline and called. I didn't even want to touch the phone because I don't know. I don't want to show my ignorance, in any way. So he called, and I heard over the line. She did say, "Quincy." I said, "Yes." So he gave me the phone, and I said, "Oh, bros, Then he said, "Where are you?" I said, I'm in New York, and the first thing I heard was, "Are you coming over to Lubbock?" And I was like, "Sure, I am."
Well, of course.
Okay, so that's how we ended the call. Now, how do we get to Lubbock? So my divine helper and the lady's cousin, us, I believe, offered us a ride to the Greyhound station.
Okay.
So we all drove to the Greyhound station, and they left. Then my angel now got me a ticket to Lubbock.
Wow.
And put me in the Greyhound bus and say bye-bye.
And this is the gentleman that you never saw
I
again?
never saw again.
Wow.
And that was it. So the bus, of course, left for Lubbock. It took us 2 days to get to Lubbock.
Okay.
We had a lot of stopovers. There's several things that happened. Like I said, a lot of culture shock. I remember I was hungry. It's funny. And in Ghana, we call it hamburger and chips.
Okay.
So here was I in America thinking I'm going to get a hamburger and chips. So I went to one of the stops. I was hungry, so I went there. I said, "I want a hamburger." And they said, "Okay, what do you want me?" I said, "I want chips." And they look at me, "Chips?" So I got my hamburger, and they gave me a pack of chips.
Of course.
And I'm like, "No,
No,
I want the long one." And then somebody said, "Oh, you mean fries?"
Fries.
I said, "Okay, yeah, the long fresh one."
Oh, my goodness.
But anyway, I got my fries, and then on the ride too, we got to a place, and is it DEA, the Drug Law Enforcement
DEA.
Agency,
Yeah,
DEA, right?
DEA.
They stopped the bus. And see, there's somebody carrying drugs on the bus. Oh man, I have never. And here was I think my visa said I was going to Philadelphia, and we had passed Philadelphia.
And now you are going
So I'm
somewhere
thinking,
else.
okay, now I'm in trouble.
Oh, wow.
And they came on the bus, and they were looking through faces. They said, "You go down, you go down." They saw me, they didn't mind me. I said, "Okay, I passed this one."
Yeah.
And I was just, shaking all over in my chair, Eventually, they grabbed a couple of guys and took their bags off from another bus, and they allowed us to go on again. I'm like, "Oh, wow." And then I sat with, at on stage of the ride, I sat with this African American. I don't know how we were communicating, but I knew I was speaking English.
Somewhere.
We were,
Did they understand you?
No.
Because that was a lot of what we all got.
Yes.
What did you say again? Can you repeat yourself? Every time I remember, Apostle, to chime into your story, I remember when we first got here, I went to high school here in Texas. And so I went to school. It was time for lunch.
Okay.
And then I went through, I looked at the lunch menu. I was like, "What is all this meal? I've not seen any of this meal before." And then my eyes caught rice and gravy. I got so excited. Because, of course, we know what our gravy is, right? A stew with some chicken or meat or fish gravy or something. Excitedly, I got in the line. They got me rice, and then the gravy section came. They said white or brown. And I'm looking at this soupy looking thing.
So what
I'm
is
like,
this?
this is not the gravy I
No,
want. They're like,
no.
yes, this is gravy. Brown gravy or white
White
gravy.
gravy.
I said,
Make
just
a
give me
choice.
anyone. It doesn't matter. Sadly, I walk off the line. I have not eaten all day.
Oh God.
I look at the food and I just tossed it in the trash.
Yep.
Since then, that's my experience with rice and gravy. No more.
Never again.
So the meal, oh my goodness, the culture shock. I think the meal for all of us is always the
Yeah.
first one. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it was interesting, you know.
But so please continue with us.
The gentleman told me that he just got out of prison.
Ah,
And oh my God, I have never felt so frightened. And we
wow.
were sitting next to
Sitting
each
next
other.
to each other.
I said, God, let me vanish. I just want to just. And I was like, you mean you just got out of prison, you know? And for like 85% of the time, I didn't understand what he was saying.
But you were
And I knew he wasn't also understanding me,
Right.
you know? But anyway, I was praying that he should get off the bus, you know,
sooner.
sooner so
Before
that
you
I
do.
can. And because here's the, I mean, from my background, when somebody's out of prison, you know, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So here was I sitting next
a
to the
big
guy,
stigma.
and the stigma is just, you know,
Yeah.
and I was like, God. But he did something amazing. Before he got off the bus, he gave me a map of the United States.
Wow.
We didn't have GPS at the time, so people use maps and those things.
Yeah.
And I cherished that so much. And also I gave him something from Africa, maybe. I can't remember that. I gave him a
Exactly.
souvenir,
Okay.
and he was so ecstatic. He was like, "Oh, wow,
Oh.
wow," you know. But that was something else, you know. At the point, I'm like, "Are we ever going to get to Lubbock?" So the next day, we made it to Lubbock and went down to look for my suitcases. They were not on the bus.
No way. Did you ever find them?
Oh yeah.
Eventually?
Eventually,
Okay.
apparently,
Okay.
you know, we changed buses several times. So I think it got onto a different bus, and this bus made it all the way to Illinois somewhere.
Oh, wow.
So they found it, and I got it back after a week.
Okay.
But that means that I have to buy new clothing and that kind of thing. But it was okay. So that was my first 48 hours in the U.S.
Nice.
You know, and thank God I made it eventually to Lubbock, Texas.
Very adventurous. Still hanging on Amazing Grace.
Oh, yes. Oh,
and
yes.
Divine Helpers.
Divine
So
Helpers.
how did you migrate from Lubbock to the DFW Metroplex?
Yeah, so in Lubbock, I stayed with this wonderful gentleman, Nigerian, and then one day I took a walk and I realized Texas Tech was just around the corner.
Okay.
You know, so I just went to the school. I said, hey, I have this and this credentials, and I'm thinking of doing a second undergrad degree. And they say, oh, do you have your transcript? And I had everything between. So they saw it and said, oh, great. You got everything. So they just gave me admissions, just like that.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
So I started taking the classes maybe a month or two after I made it to the U.S. And they helped me to change my status from B1, B2 to F1
Okay.
to a student visa.
Okay.
That was pre 9/11, so it was easier to transition,
that,
you
yeah.
know. And that was great, you know. So I started taking classes in Texas Tech and spent a year there. And by the summer, I was taking up dental school. So, and there was no dental school in Lubbock, so I I moved to Dallas
Okay.
Metroplex, you know.
Okay.
And that was how the whole thing began. And I stayed with another divine helper in the person of Dr. Akwe for the first month in Dallas. So I stayed in his apartment, and we.
And this is the same gentleman that had planted the seed
Yes.
of wanting
yes.
to come to America, that you will
Absolutely.
make a lot of money
Absolutely.
being a dentist.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So as a matter of fact, he thought I was hiding something from him.
Oh, no.
Remember when he planted the seed, not long after he left Ghana, I made it to the U.S.
Okay.
So he thought, wait a minute, this guy, I met him. He didn't tell me he was coming to the U.S.
I had no idea.
So I had to explain to him that, you know, as a matter of fact, he planted the seed, but I didn't know how I was going to make it. And I didn't want to bother him because we didn't have that relationship.
Right.
But God made it possible. And so he actually told me to come and stay with him.
Oh, nice.
So I stayed with him for that 1 month and a half. Then helped me to get a job at the dental lab, making dentures and crowns.
Okay.
Then he also co-signed for me to get an apartment.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, so that's how I started living in Dallas, Fort Worth area.
All right, viewers, this story is much more captivating as we dive deeper into it. But we have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Sleep saves lives. People with sleep apnea don't just snore throughout the night. Their airwaves get obstructed, and next thing you know, they're not able to breathe. Did you know that diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, weight gain, daytime drowsiness, and low energy can all be linked to sleep apnea and snoring? Snoring is not sexy, it's fixable with a non-invasive therapy using laser. No surgery, no cutting, no bleeding. See instant change after the first treatment. We have the cutting-edge technology at Amazing Grace Dentistry. For free consultation, please call us at 972-238-5000. That's 972-238-5000. An Amazing Grace Dentistry specialist is waiting to assist you. Call 972-238-5000. Learn more by going to AmazingGraceDental.com.
Viewers, welcome back to our conversation with Dr. Quincy Attipoe, the mega mind behind Amazing Grace Family Dentistry.
So got a job, got an apartment, and trying to live the American life, you know.
Okay, so was school still a
Yes.
priority?
Yes. So for some reason, I didn't go to school directly when I moved to Dallas.
Okay.
Until one day I went to work, and I thought I was a very important part of the office. I went to work that morning, and something happened that was very telling. In my office, we make dentures and crowns and stuff for dentists. So we went to the office that morning, and looks like we are only about 2 African Americans working in that office. The other guy misplaced something, and it was believed that he must throw in the dumpster, in the trash can. And I was working. Then my boss came to me and said, "Hey, Quincy, go and help the other guy to look for this small piece, you know." And this like looking for a needle in a haystack. And I was like, really? So that summer afternoon, I went to the dumpster with Odell, that's his name, and we started digging through the trash. No gloves, no face masks. We were just digging through it, looking for this small thing, you know.
In the dumpster?
In the dumpster.
Wow.
At a point, then I began to cry. I said, no, I deserve better. I deserve better. Then Odell was like, "Are you okay, Q?" I'm like, they call me Q. And I was like, man, back where I come from, when I go to work, somebody take my bag to my office. I mean, there's some kind of respect, but I don't believe that I'll come to America and I'll be digging trash. We didn't find the stuff we're looking for. And the moment I left work that day, I went straight to UTD, University of Texas campus. And there also God prepared somebody for me. One amazing lady, Dr. Salter. And I went to meet her, and I told her, I narrated my story to her. And I said, yeah, well, it's late, but I can make you start a program as an independent is it student or something like that. So I didn't start the whole program with the
team,
but
the batch
she was
for
able
that
to
year.
make me just write some bunch of papers for her, and then she would grade me. Then she,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
and I said, wow. So I wrote I was asked to write a 20 or 50-page paper or something like that, and I wrote it for that semester, and that's how I started.
You were able to join the team.
And she said one thing. She said, Quincy, you say you're going to be a dentist in America. I said, yes. She said, when you become a dentist, I want to be your patient.
Oh.
And that was a challenge to me.
Nice.
Now I have a reason to become a dentist in
And
America.
a great one.
And a great
for
one.
that matter.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Q, what again, I like picking up nuggets from what you are telling us.
Yeah.
So, usually, we see the bad things that happen to us. It becomes just a bad situation, and we don't make something good out of it. But I believe, as human beings, and especially if you believe and trust in God, that situations, any situation that comes our way,
Yes.
it is to, I'm sure it's always to build us. In the moment, it may not look like one that is meant to build, because I can already feel the emotion from having to dig through trash, having been, feeling belittled at that moment, and just telling yourself that you deserve better.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of us, or a lot of our viewers, if you are watching, whatever situation you find yourself in, just try to see the silver lining in that situation. Don't always allow the situation to break you, because I think it would have been easier for you to say, you know what, let me get out of this place
Yeah.
and go find another job.
Yep.
But instead, you took that situation and you turned it around
Yep.
for it to work better for you. So that even in that bad situation, it became a motivational factor.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I'm trying to send across to our viewers is to find that motivational piece in whatever situation we find ourselves
Yes.
in, that we can use as a building block for our future. And I see that played a role. I'm sure when that boss asked you to do what he said to do, it was not meant to propel you to make a decision for the next level,
Yeah.
but you did just that. And for that, I believe, even for me, I'm very grateful to see that and to see what it has become or made you today. So,
Yeah. And one of the things I think it did for me was in the heat of that short encounter, I told myself one day, because here's the thing, dentists would send their cases to the lab where I was working. All I told myself, one day I want to be able to send my case to this same lab. And that was the motivation. So all I wanted to be was get it done with my job and make it all the way to the top. One thing I left out, Dr. Akwe got me a job with a friend of his.
okay.
And I thought it was a good job. He was paying me good. One day I went to work and the environment was kind of funny. You know, I went to school in Nigeria, so I learned the theories and everything about what I was doing with this guy. But he learned on the job. So here's the thing. Every now and then we are doing a case and I'm like, you got to think of the patient, you know. So I would say, I would chip in this type of thing. And apparently the guy didn't like it.
Oh, wow.
I was like, when the patient bite down, this is too bulky. It might bite his cheek, for instance. And he didn't like it. So he had called Dr. Akwe and said, hey, tell your friend not to come to work again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was on a Friday. So I was fired without being told.
Oh, boy.
So Friday night, I go home and Dr. Akwe said, oh, Quincy, let's go out. So he started driving around the whole of Dallas.
To bring the bad news to you?
First he took me to a very expensive restaurant. Make sure I ate very well.
What a way to present a bad news, huh?
Then from there he said, oh, there's a concert or something. Oh, we were going to places. And I'm like,
What's going on?
something is definitely not adding up. Then eventually, after we are relaxed, they said, you know what? In America, stuff happened. And there's job everywhere.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
like, I know there's
I know that.
They say if you lose one job here, you can get another job.
Why are we talking about this
Yes.
now? Oh.
And so anyway, the long and short is that Rudy doesn't want you to come back to work again.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, Rudy, so I'm fired. He said, yeah. He said, but you'll be fine. On Monday, he picked the phone and started calling and he got this place that I got this job now.
Okay.
And they said I should come for interview on Monday.
On Monday.
So I was fired on Friday and Monday I got an interview. So when I went for this job, I was asked to set up a food venture. And I did it like in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And the people were like, wow, it comes natural. So I just put the teeth together and my boss looked and said, oh, wow, you are hired.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow.
So that was this same job that made me to want to become. So the firing on Monday and getting a new job, it didn't even bother me. I mean, I felt like I thought of income, Oh, wow, how am I going to pay
Rent
my
is
rent,
due.
But by Monday, I got a better job with benefits. So I got I got insurance with the job.
Okay.
They even have 401k and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I lost a job with a small timer. Now I'm I'm with the big boys now.
Yeah, there's a silver lining is it in
Yeah.
every cloud. Awesome, awesome.
Yep.
So now we are in school.
Yes.
How did all that go?
Well, one of the things I did while I was in Ghana was I took what is called a dental admission test while I was in Ghana.
Okay.
And that was the first step to wanting to go to dental school. And because we are classified as minority, if we get some score, your name goes to most of the schools, and they start writing to you about wanting you to, start poaching you to come to their school, pretty much.
Is it part of affirmative action, maybe?
I should think so, yeah.
Okay.
Because most of the letters I received were because you are a minority, so blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And one of the schools that wrote to me was Baylor College of Dentistry.
Down the street.
Yes. And I was like, oh, wow. So I wrote back to them, and then they realized that I was not even in the U.S. So I remember one of the admission officers asked me if I have a green card. And I'm like, green card? I'm in Ghana. What are you talking about, green card, Then it was like, well, for you to pay through dental school, it's expensive. Even for those who are citizens. Being an international student in dental school will be even more expensive.
Almost twice as much.
So if you can get a green card, it will help you. I was like, okay. So that was another seed that was planted. So all these things I was doing was, how do I get to, And by the time I got it to Texas, UTD, University of Texas, I'd gotten my green card, and it was easier for me to just apply.
Okay.
And so in 2003, I got admissions to Baylor College of Dentistry.
And it's a great school too.
Oh yes, yes.
It's one of the top notches when it comes to dentistry.
Yes, it sure is. Yeah, I have fond memories in that school. It was.
I know if we have to share those stories, we would not get through with this episode.
Yes.
So how did they all play down, graduating to starting a business?
Yes.
How did this all start?
Yeah, I think it went great. There was a lesson there too, where about 11 people of color in that class, or that matriculating class, and by the time we finished, we got to final year, our senior year, only 2 of us were left.
Out of the 11?
Out of the 11. It was like they put us in a sieve, and and people were dropping left, right, and center. And we made it, myself and Dr. Rice. But one thing I said was that one day I was in class, and I asked a question in class, and the whole class was laughing because of my accent.
No, of course.
So out of anger, I got up. I said, you know what? You might be laughing at me right now, but when we leave this school, I'll be the first to open the dental office.
Oh, wow.
I prophesied.
The power of words.
The power of words.
Yes.
I just said it, and they even laughed the more. Yes.
Okay. Because it's highly impossible.
Oh, yes.
To do that right after graduating.
Well, I said it, but then I had already got rekindled this connection with my relationship with God. So I didn't feel like I was out of place to say that, And fast forward to 2007. By August of 2007, I started building this particular office.
Really?
I left school May 2007.
So same year?
The same year, I started building this place. And by December, it was ready.
Wow.
And we we open the doors for business.
Wow. Once again, the power of words.
Yes.
Whatever you want in your life, speak it. Don't speak the negative. And of course, those of us that are from far away, far away, that have come into this culture, one thing I keep saying is no matter what we do, you're going to be who you are. I'm an African, and I'm proud of it. Sometimes I know our accents get, to fit in, you have to speak a certain way, but with accent or not, you have to believe in who you are and what you want to become, and you don't have to give up. The affirmation of the positive words that we speak to ourselves.
So true.
I know most of the time we depend on other people to affirm us.
No.
But I believe the best affirmation is what you affirm to yourself. Didn't the Bible say, and David encouraged himself
in the Lord?
And we have to learn to do that as well. So keep speaking positive to yourself.
That's right. Viewers, this channel has been a blessing to me. And while you watch this thing, the best you can do is to, right now, push that subscribe button, like and share. Somebody needs to share in this blessing as well. God bless you.